You're listening to Built to Convert, the podcast where growth-minded marketers, founders, and creators come to level up. No hype, no guesswork, just bold insights that drive results. Let's go.
Hey everyone, I'm Tyler Lane, founder of Session Interactive and the host of Built to Convert. On this show, I sit down with growth-minded founders, marketers, and business leaders to explore how strategy, analytics, and smart marketing decisions drive real, revenue-focused growth. This episode is brought to you by Session Interactive, a digital agency that helps brands turn complex data into clear, actionable strategy. From SEO and analytics to paid media and other experimentations, we help performance-driven teams unlock their next stage of growth. Learn more at Session Interactive. All right, today we're joined by Chad Franzen. Chad has been in the podcasting and media space for quite some time, and he is an expert on podcast hosts, and it helps companies build relationships and authority through strategic interviews. And today he's going to help me tell my story a bit more. Thanks, Chad.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much. Great to be here, Tyler. I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit more about you and also more about Session Interactive. I was thinking maybe I would ask you some questions that you might regularly get from clients or prospective clients. And, maybe this might, if they listen to this podcast, they might save themselves the trouble of having to ask you themselves. So just to start off, first of all, Session Interactive services include analytics, SEO, paid search, paid social, content marketing, things like that. In your experience or observation, are there maybe some common misconceptions that people might have about those channels or those areas?
Yeah, I think, just thinking about them as individual channels, I mean, they are, but they all play into the collective ecosystem, right? So we'll have clients in particular, hey, I just need analytics or I just need SEO. And it's like, okay, we'll do that. But we want to obviously set a strategy for you and make sure it's integrated with those other channels. So that's really incorporating to ensure that we're collaborating with those other teams, whether those be other agencies or other internal team members, to make sure we have a cohesive plan outlined. It sounds like buzzwords and a lot of just, cliche statements, but it's really important that we make sure that we have an understanding of the core strategy as it relates to marketing, and we have an understanding of the core strategy as it relates to those individual channels, and then we can correctly weave things in. So I'd say that's a core misconception of, hey, they're just going to do this and they're going to do it in a silo. That's just not effective usage of your time, your budget, and kind of any ongoing collaboration. So that's one core one, but there's definitely others.
Hey, just out of curiosity, so when you go on LinkedIn or Google search or anything like that, you might see an ad or you might see a post on LinkedIn that says one of those elements is dead, like SEO is dead.
Sure.
What's kind of your response? I'm sure your clients or somebody would come up to you and say, I've heard the same thing. What's kind of your response to that?
Yeah, Chad, we've been hearing that phrase SEO is dead for years. I think ever since I've been in SEO, to be honest, more so probably over the last 3 to 4 years, especially with generative AI and that becoming more and more ubiquitous, and people are adopting it. AI has been around for a long time, but obviously with these generative platforms like OpenAI, Cloud, other ones, DeepSeek, and others are becoming more and more popular. So, when I hear that, it's ultimately great. Have that mentality, because SEO is alive and well. It's evolving. It's changing. And as people are utilizing LLMs more, Google market share is shrinking slightly, but let's be clear, they own about 90% still. If you were to percentage breakdown Bing, I think it's around 5%, and Bing's been around for a long time. LLMs are starting to scratch the surface around, taking away some of that market share. And then, AI overviews is a big thing that Google launched, their integration with Gemini, and people were freaking out about that as well. It's like, oh, okay, AI is going to gobble up all the searches that people are interested in, and no one's going to go to websites anymore. And that's really reminiscent of, and I was brought this up on a podcast we just had with Amir, who is the senior SEO manager at Crocs. And we were talking about AI overviews. It's very similar to what's called a featured snippet, Chad. And featured snippet, the easiest example is like you type in how to boil water, and it would be like a block of text. So step 1, step 2, step 3, right? You and I probably know how to do that already.
Mm-hmm.
And it was answering the question right there. And people were the same sort of thing are coming out where, oh man, we're not going to be found. No one's going to our sites anymore. And it's very similar with AI overviews. Yes, AI overviews in certain cases are more sophisticated. Other cases, they're not that sophisticated at all. And it is impacting click-through rate 100% in certain cases. But it's more so on the awareness-based queries that we're seeing it, not necessarily on more of the consideration or decision queries. And people are still, LMs have to get their information somewhere, and that's coming from websites too. And so, SEO is alive and well, and we're adapting to this new age, if you will. Generative engine optimization is the new trending acronym that's becoming more and more popular, and we're adapting to that and really trying to cater our strategies around that. But there's not a playbook right now to optimize to LLMs. There are indications and some signals that we're adopting, but that's how we're not refuting SEO is dead. If we're saying SEO is changing and evolving as it is every month, pretty much.
Sure. Yeah, of course. So let's say a prospective client or a new client comes to and they decide they're going to work with Session Interactive. Are there some common questions that these new clients might have?
Yeah. Some of the bigger things, of course, are around budget. Okay, what are your minimums? Some questions are around impact. When are we going to see impact? And we have fairly flexible minimum structures to make sure it's impactful as possible. And we're evaluating our ideal client profile just as they're trying to evaluate agencies, and we want to understand the industry. We want to understand your internal structure. We want to understand your abilities to implement, and those are core aspects for us to evaluate to ensure that we're going to be successful. If we kind of pass that standard breakdown, then essentially we're going to really outline, okay, here's how we think we can be successful. And generally, in select cases, we're putting together projections in terms of performance. We're intimately, understanding and aware of the industry and what we need to be successful. I think that, again, the big thing is quality is all we have. I'm going to bring that up all the time. And we're not going to take on a client that we feel is not going to be successful with us because maybe they don't understand what they need to be successful, or what they understand. They just, we're going to pay them $5-6 grand a month and we're good to go. And it's like, okay, yes, but you need to be fully adopting this collaboration. You need to be fully all in, because there's going to be a significant amount of work that's coming. We're going to implement on our end. That's a big thing with whether it's content production or light on-page SEO and other things like that. We're going to help supplement and augment the team 100%, but there's going to be quite a bit on the team, on the client team, for them to implement too. Mm. So a lot of people don't understand that there's a significant amount of work that's going to come to their internal teams.
So you've decided that a prospective client is one that you can really benefit with your services, and then that client decides, okay, I'm in. What can they expect from that point? What does your process entail?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, when I first started as a consultant, it was, let's get started, right? And you're diving into the site immediately, and you don't have really a ton of context, kind of loosely their goals. So now we've matured and evolved significantly. We have a pretty strict and fairly robust process going through our discovery. And not only are we meeting with subject matter experts to try to get up to speed as fast as possible, but we're also digesting previous reports. We're digging into analytics very quickly. Obviously, we're nailing their core goals and KPIs, making sure those are clear and consistent. And then we move into an audit phase. Now, audit phase is literally, it's a fact-finding mission, Chad. So it's not a strategy, right? It's a fact-finding mission of things that are wrong, things that need to be improved, that we can quickly uncover based on crawling the website. From there, then we go in and create an actual custom strategy for the client based on their unique use case. And then after that, the client is presented with a roadmap, generally 6 to 12 months, and it breaks out all the core aspects of SEO, integration opportunities, conversion rate optimization, suggestion, content production. It's incredibly robust of what we put together. And we're fully understanding, Chad, that after those deliverables, there will be, an opportunity, of course, for us to collaborate within a management structure. But we're we understand that things change and things we need to adapt. So what we do is we bake in QBRs, obviously quarterly business reviews, and we use those as growth plans and growth initiatives to reevaluate our current strategy and identify opportunities for improvement. And we want to pivot and iterate. So, hey, just because we conducted this audit 3-4 months ago, and now we're going through this QBR, we're not going to, hey, this is the roadmap. So we have to stick. We're fully embracing that we're going to pivot in certain cases and try to be more efficient from that point on. So that's kind of our robust onboarding process before we get into management.
Okay, interesting. So, they sign on with Session Interactive. I'm guessing a client has maybe an account manager or something like that. What does that look like? Account management?
Yeah, another great question. I kind of going back to my early days. Michelle Preusch, formerly Michelle Hamilton, a good friend of mine, and really was a key person for me to really understand the value of project management, the value of quality client account management. For so long, it was like, what's going on? All these large agencies have so many account people and 1 or 2 practitioners, and that wasn't an efficient model at all. Michelle really taught me the value of strategic client planning and the ability to develop core client rapport, not just to fixate on what's being implemented and all the nuance and technical capabilities. There was this other layer that really needed to happen in terms of developing that client rapport, developing those core fundamentals. People at the end of the day want to work with people that they like and enjoy and get along with. Yes, performance is essential, but that's a key tenet. So that's a big thing of what we pride ourselves in at Session, and really something that client account management team that's head up by Linnea Shanley as the director of client services is huge and is essential to whatever we do. Those team members have direct calls with clients because they're strategists themselves. They can articulate, they can demonstrate their own strategic capabilities. And then when practitioners need to be joined, they join, right? And they help support. And Linnea and her team really guide and make sure people are, both the client and us, are adhering to the roadmap and are iterating as needed and showing value at all times is a big thing, just a crucial component there.
Is there a cadence that clients can expect in terms of, their interaction with you?
Yeah, that varies depending on the size and the complexity of the account. Of course, whether it's multi-service or if it's a single service, that can change. But typically up front, it's really important. I'll bring that word up again around rapport, that we establish that and make sure we're in a really good place before we change up the cadence at all. So typically it's after the going back to the onboarding process, we get through discovery, go through the audit, and then the strategy. And, typical agencies will go and, hey, we won't talk to you for a month or 2, right? Because we're heads down on this audit phase. And for me, I was just noticing, it was like, we need to establish communication. We need to give them some quick wins. We need to get them going. So there's always a regroup call, and there's actually a draft presented to the client to, hey, this is what we've uncovered thus far. Here's some immediate concerns. We actually need to stop and focus on those. That doesn't happen very often, but that's kind of that trust that we want to build and develop. And then from there, after that presentation, typically we're in a weekly cadence. And then for select clients, we're bi-weekly. For other clients, we're monthly. Again, it depends on the engagement. But really important, we won't change that cadence unless we have that core rapport, typically after that first quarter or so.
So my business seems like a good fit for you. I'm excited to work with Session Interactive. We get going. How soon am I going to see success?
Yeah, 3 to 4 days. Immediate no. So I think that it's always a good question, and you need to have that conversation. And it of course is contingent. It's dependent on the industry in certain cases. It depends on the internal team structure, what their abilities are to implement, what their inabilities are. So those are all core factors that we need to understand. What their goals are too. Those conversations are huge. Are these goals? I love the aggressive goals. We want goals that are, think are unachievable, but let's set them out there as those items that we can hopefully look to break someday. So, as things get rolling, we typically like to see some level of results within that first 2 to 3 months. Again, it depends what we can get into market, and what we can start implementing on our end. and with the client too. If they're taking it seriously, they're investing a significant amount of money. So they need to be all in too, and they need to buy into this process. So, typically around the SEO side, we'll start seeing impressions change, and that will correlate to click-through rate within that first 2 to 3 months, depending on what the strategy recommends. And then for paid media, that's typically after we've created the strategy and gone into market, it's almost immediate in terms of, clicks. And that's like a vanity metric that we don't really care too much about. We use it as a monitoring mechanism, but then ultimately we need to see performance out of that. So it's a lot faster, of course. That's where paid serves that kind of more immediate gratification. And we always kind of state that paid is meant to supplement organic as building. So those are those two items, and that's typically what we'll state to clients.
So those are the kind of if they ask for projections, that's pretty much what they would get.
Yeah, I mean, we can absolutely, and we do projections all the time, especially for clients that require that, and we're happy to give that directional overview. Nothing is perfect by any means, and clients are aware of that. There's always an asterisk, but we do quality due diligence to understand, okay, here are some of the audience themes, and here's the type of direction that we think we can go in. It's not all about just improving non-branded search. And now with LLMs, brand entities and brand mentions are so much more important and impactful. So making sure we've got the PR teams, making sure we've got the traditional advertising teams aligned, and we're all outlining consistent messaging and social media distribution, et cetera. So all those are core factors, and they do improve. They can improve or showcase our results in different fashions. So 100% to answer your question, yes, we'll do projections.
Do clients have an out clause?
Yeah, always. I think the big thing too, when we first started, was like we were always looking for long-term contracts, and that's just with any business. We want to be able to project, and that makes sense, right? But what we've noticed that there was some hesitation, especially for clients. What's been happening is that majority of our clients, and I know many of other SEO agencies are finding this, have been burned once or twice by an SEO agency, a paid media agency, analytics agency that just didn't know what they were doing, and charged them a significant amount of money, and they saw little to no results. And it's unfortunate. We are getting, our prospects there is this timidness, right? There is this, oh gosh, here's another agency, right? The CEO is going to come on and sell me, and then it's going to pass me to their account team, and quality is just going to tank. There's no transition and things like that. So, it's a big thing of what we evaluate and make sure that that's not the case. And so we offer, to get your question again, a 30-day out always. So essentially it's month to month. And typically we'll do that for the first year, 6 months to a year. And then the confidence, that rapport, that performance, of course, will be developed, and then we'll sign longer engagements. I think the big thing for us too is we want to fixate more on our existing client base than net new. So we want to nurture and retain and grow our existing clients correctly, grow them correctly, and as it makes sense for them, versus focusing on net new for us. But regardless, yeah, everyone's typically on 30-day outs.
Let's talk about a case study real quick. Give me an example of a client maybe who came to you. They were in a certain situation. You guys did your thing, and now they're in a different situation.
Yeah, so there's a variety of them, obviously, and it's that's how we're in business, right? Is we flourish off referrals and making sure that we're demonstrating that. I just talked to your colleague Jeremy on his podcast the other day, and we were highlighting two that always come to mind, and one is Canvas Credit Union. We've got a whole dedicated department that's fixated on the credit union vertical. We really love those team members and their passion. Trey and Levi and those team members at Canvas, they do incredible work, and I'm really excited to continue to partner with them. But I'll highlight that one again just because it's top of mind. But we came in and did a very an audit structure. They initially approached us to do some tactic work. Hey, can you update our metadata and do internal link adjustments and things like that? And ultimately, we was like, hey, we need to audit, and then we need to create a strategy for you guys. And this was about 3.5 years ago or so. And it's since grown to one of our larger SEO clients and really helped us grow that entire vertical, knowing that, these people are incredibly passionate about what they do and they're excited about what they do. And they're really impacting and changing people's lives. Like they really are, like buying a first home, buying a car, whatever. Those are really impactful items that credit union is there to support. So we saw exponential increases in terms of their applications. That's their core goal. Based on our local SEO strategy, making sure we're optimizing core locations correctly using distribution tools, as well as creating local landing pages, fairly straightforward items that we really didn't modernize them. Another big win that was less about the exact analytics team doesn't always get a lot of the credibility or the credit rather. Mm-hmm. And because it's not as sexy and it's not a direct lead generation channel, but the big thing for us is that we reconfigured their attribution model to make sure that we had end-to-end tracking on applications. Before it was just being tracked by clicks, which didn't tell anyone anything. Now we can track at the application level based on the actual, hey, we're looking at a HELOC, we're looking at another line of credit for whatever that may be. Or we're looking for a rate on something. Great. We can track that application based on the channel, and then do some multi-touch attribution modeling from there to correctly attribute as well as possible to that individual channel. So that's a huge win, not only on the analytics front, but the SEO. And then lastly, on the paid media front too, they're a multi-service client that was being supported. We're doing geo-targeting based around locations to try to drive brick and mortar traffic. And it's been immensely successful with those campaigns. And we're continue to grow that account significantly.
I think a couple of times now in our conversation, you've kind of downplayed the value or the importance of clicks. I know a lot of people, that's probably the first thing. How many clicks am I getting? Why do you downplay it?
Yeah, I think, we're always trying to create a strategy, get that in motion based on a significant amount of due diligence and research. And we want to impact revenue as much as possible. We want to be transformative to that brand's revenue and their structure, and obviously make that team or team member look amazing and get them promoted, right? And vanity metrics like clicks and impressions are signals, right? They are not key performance indicators, right? They're signals, and we can celebrate them to a certain extent, but ultimately we need our efforts thematically to result in conversion value, right? And that is really around an opt-in, that's a purchase, whatever the core key event may be, using Google Analytic language here. We want to make sure it's tracked correctly, and there's some attributable success. So, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, impressions and clicks went up. It's like, okay, well, how's revenue looking, and has that improved? And it in certain cases, it takes longer than others, but that's really what we want to come down to. We want the client to celebrate those wins, but we also want, at the end of the day, hey, work with your CFO. Let's chat directly, and making sure we have transparent information in terms of your financials and revenue associated with all of your marketing activities, and so we can back out and return on marketing investment as much as possible. So,
I was just going to ask you about key performance indicators. Obviously, revenue is one. What are some other ones, or did you just answer my question?
No, yeah. I mean, I think I kind of go back. Maybe I contradicted myself a little bit, because I think, clicks are used to, again, as indicators, right? So they are KPIs to a certain extent, but we want to make sure we're obviously adhering to the goals. And it's generally, if it's a B2B landscape, it's some sort of opt-in. Obviously, if it's a B2C component, it's a purchase for the most part. There's a D2C plays as well, where we're trying to create demand and drive traffic to a brick and mortar solution. And there's others. We want to nail those, and I think clients will be like, "Oh, we just want revenue," and it's like, okay, that makes sense, great, but we need to dive in deeper. Okay, here's the channel specific KPIs. Clicks, again, I kind of contradicted myself there, but clicks is incorporated there as that indicator, impressions and other things to get us there. Engagement in particular, how are people engaging with the site after they click on an ad or after they click on a particular organic result? So exit rate, bounce rate, pages per session, session duration, those are all factors for select areas within websites that are really impactful that can help tell a story. We also utilize heat mapping data and other click tracking items to help layer on to Google Analytics data. And then you can keep going with interviews, user interviews, as well as survey functionality to help tell that more rounded story, to gain feedback and help fill the marketing engine. So those are, it's unique based on the client, but we want to really nail those. And then we're fully anticipate as the strategy will evolve, so do the KPIs, so do the goals. So
I don't know a huge amount about SEO. I've heard the word keyword associated with SEO a lot in the past. Tell me about your thoughts on how keywords relate to SEO, and are they a big deal?
Yeah, they for so long and still so many agencies are just so fixated at the keyword level. And in certain cases that process still does work. That said, there is this natural evolution to really just fixate on, it seems simplistic, but also complicated, on the audience. Like, what is the audience gravitating towards? What is that client's ICP, and can we really understand what they're digesting and where they're digesting it? So long were we just fixated on Google, but nowadays people are searching on all different platforms, from LLMs to social media platforms to forum like Reddit threads and things like that. So the landscape is changing, and SEO for so long, again, it's Google still holds the large market share, so we're really still fixated on a lot of that, but we're diversifying a lot more in terms of what we're analyzing and what we're recommending to clients and what our optimization process looks like across the board. So yes, keywords are a factor, but that's not how we ever lead a strategy. We want to nail the audience. We want to nail competitor insights. We want to nail product and service overviews as much as possible and understand the details there, and then understand the user's journey, what they're interested in, where they're gravitating towards. Tools like Spark Toro from Rand Fishkin and Amanda over there, they tell some great stories of where people are interacting and engaging across the web, not just on Google, right? So, and then we're starting to track. It's not as easy as other platforms, but we're starting to track referrals from LLMs and things like that. It looks like my camera's decided to pause. We'll do the side profile from now on.
Okay, nice, very nice. Yep. Hey, just as we kind of wrap things up here, tell me a little bit about migration, kind of the timeline for that.
Yeah, of course. We have a variety of clients that go through migrations, right? That's a big theme that all clients will go through at some point. And what are migrations, right? Hey, we're gonna rebrand, we're gonna re-platform a new CMS, we're gonna lightly redesign the website, we're gonna change up language, we're gonna add or sunset particular product or service lines. Those are all aspects of migrations, and those are things that people should be aware of and consider. And this has been something that's been a topic for years and continues to be, but there's catastrophic things that could happen to a particular brand in terms of their search equity if there's not a really structured strategy to maintain that equity. And we deal with very complex sites. We also deal with fairly simplistic sites. Hey, we're going to rebrand. That's the easiest one, right? Okay, URLs are changing and language is changing. Let's set you up for success. Let's make some minimal changes and then maybe subtly roll out other changes to have less of a abrupt signal to Google. In certain cases, people are constantly, why did I change? My rankings fell so significantly after after this relaunch. What happened? It's like, oh, well, the classic, you forgot to redirect, or you changed things so dramatically, Google had to recrawl and reprioritize you on these particular rankings. So big thing there, and making sure you have a plan in place and making sure you're really taking that seriously. I think one thing too that I'll add is we love our developer colleagues and our developer partners, but in certain cases, developers will say, "Oh, we'll do SEO. We know SEO." I think it's changing, and at this point in 2025, it doesn't happen nearly as much as it used to happen, 5-10 years ago. But like, oh, we're gonna just we'll create a new website, and there was little to no SEO analysis or strategy employed. So there was significant losses in terms of traffic and revenue for these brands. And it was unfortunate because they literally just had to put a strategy together with an SEO agency or consultant or an internal team member and just never bothered to do it. So really important to stress that.
So what is the most, the biggest thing that somebody should not do when they're planning migration?
Yeah. So they should not rush a migration. That's the classic thing. Like we say that all the time at session. It's like never rush a migration. The clients, will have hey, we're going to go live on May 13th. That's when we're going to go live. And I don't think I've ever integrated with a brand or collaborated with a brand that actually goes live on the actual date. Right. Because either they engage us too late or they engage us. Well, regardless, we're going to be paid to state, hey, we really think you shouldn't go live now. Right. Because of XYZ, because of this. Another thing is celebrating too early. Hey, new site. What are your, we're super excited. And it's the first week or maybe the first couple of days of the new launch. So we always recommend a soft launch to the internal teams, to your evangelists, and create this ongoing bug list to state what's going on, what's not working perfectly. There's always things that go, regardless of how much you've QA'd and things like that. The public will find out and they'll have a poor experience. So try to mitigate that as much as possible. We were up, this is a brand a number of years ago, press release goes live on X date. And the site was live for about like a day before. I was like, let's be realistic here. Like this isn't going to make anyone look good. And ultimately we pushed that out and we had a deep conversation with the executive team. We can't do this. We have to push it out because there ultimately was significant amount of bugs and things that we need to figure out. So they were thankful. Ultimately, those are things that you can't quantify as much too. It's like, hey, you initiated us, the migration went really well. That's not like the loss framework. If you didn't do this, you could have lost all of your traffic. And clients are like, no, would we have? It's pretty. It's kind of funny. It's like, oh gosh, yeah, you would. So yeah.
Hey, Tyler. Great to talk to you as always. A lot of very valuable, important, and interesting stuff here. Thanks so much for having me today.
Of course. Yeah, I appreciate you.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Built to Convert. If you're serious about growth, don't just listen. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for new episodes that drop straight into your feed. Until next time, keep building.